our perspective about wine. And we have a number of articles to talk about today that some of them all revolve around a theme, but we wanted to start with about why it is bad for you to be drinking only one type of wine and why you should be expanding your palate a little bit. What did you think about the premise behind this article, Mark?
I heard about this in the past, and they mentioned in this, again, Wine Enthusiast article about if you drink the same wines over and over and over again, your palate really doesn't develop because you're only used to one wine, one type of wine.
Mm-hmm.
And we talk the best way to train your palate on this show is to just keep tasting, try different things, and you'll finally develop and learn things. But if you're just doing the same wine all the time, your palate doesn't develop. And like I said, I heard where winemakers, they have a thing called cellar palate, which is the same thing, that they just tasting their own wines all the time. And it makes sense because if you're a winemaker, you probably, you're tasting everything you're making and they just never try anything else. So
that was exactly where my mind went. I'm so glad that you brought that up because I was just going to say that for people who are in the industry, but especially on the production side of it. You spend so much of your time with your own wines. And sometimes you really don't get the opportunity to have the experience of tasting other brands, other producers more on this daily basis, especially when it's your family livelihood. Chances are when you are sitting down to a bottle of wine with dinner, it's your wine.
Yeah, and versus a typical, or not your typical, but your average wine drinker who, and we've talked about this many times, where they don't want to venture into anything else. They drink the same wine that's in their comfort zone or their same brand. Mm-hmm. They never venture out. It's almost the same thing as a winemaker tasting their own wine all the time. You're just tasting your same brand all the time. Maybe you're afraid to change, or you don't want to expand maybe your palate anymore.
Or maybe you just like consistency.
What you like.
I like that when we talked about this a few shows ago, there's comfort knowing what to eat, sort of having a tried and true wine because you know what you're going to be getting when you open that bottle. You know, there's no or limited chance of being disappointed because you know what you're getting.
Right. Now, I wanted to go with this, Kim. I have to bring to food because you're the foodie person.
Very good.
Do you think that a person's wine palate is related to their food palate? For instance, you know me, I'm not a foodie. I don't really explore too much, but I do explore in wine, which I think is kind of unique. I would think people that don't explore their wine palate probably not exploring their food palate either. Do you think it's related? Because I'm the opposite.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it would have to depend on your why. You know, why do you not want to or feel inclined to be a food adventurer, I guess you can say? Like, what is it that makes you not want to experiment with different types of foods?
I guess that's the same thing for wine, right? People probably the
but
same
maybe it's
reason.
not.
I'm comfortable
maybe
with a certain type of food, and I don't want to venture out into anything.
And do you think you know that about yourself, that is your reason?
I believe so. But okay. I'm not that way with wine, which is, I think, right. You know, I would try anything. But with food, I'm like, nah, I like what I like. So I can
know thyself, dude.
I guess I can see how doing it with wine, just one thing, you really don't develop your palate. I'm not really developing my food palate, mm-hmm. if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, I totally.
Never have been this quiet before. Time being 7 o'clock, I call the January 4th, 2023 meeting of the Franklin Town Council to order. Please pause for a moment of silence. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice job, guys.
Sounds like a fork.
Yeah. Announcements from the chair. All citizens are now welcome to attend public board and committee meetings in person. Meetings are live streamed by Franklin TV and shown on Comcast
Recording
Channel
in progress.
11 and Verizon Channel 29, and recordings in progress. In an effort to maximize citizen engagement opportunities, citizens will be able to continue to participate remotely via phone, or you may click the Zoom link that is on the posted agenda on the town's website. The call-in number is 929-205-6099. You need to enter the meeting ID number, which is 861-4238-3425. Then you hit the pound sign. Once again, the meeting ID is 861-4238-3425, and then the pound sign. If residents are just interested in watching the meeting, it will also be live streamed by Franklin TV. Citizens' comments. Citizens are welcome to express their views for up to 3 minutes on a matter that is not on the agenda. The council will not engage in a dialogue or comment on a matter raised during citizens' comments. The town council will give remarks appropriate consideration and may ask the town administrator to review the matter. Is there anyone in council chambers that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? Is there?
Yes.
What?
Rachel.
I haven't gone to Zoom.
Not in the room. Zoom land.
Unbelievable. Stay over there, Glenn. And is there anyone out in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda?
It's Rachel.
Rachel, if you just
Hi.
identify yourself, please, name and address.
Thank you. My name is Rachel Plukas. I live on Anchorage Road here in Franklin, and I'd just like to take a quick moment to welcome you guys to 2023, serving the town of Franklin. I also serve as the Democratic Town Committee Chair. I am speaking as an individual, but I want to really thank the entire group here for, regardless of political affiliation or regardless of your work towards the committee. You've really been a responsive group. You guys, I expect even more in 2023, but it's, I want to thank you for your hard work in the last year.
Thank you, Rachel. Is there anyone else out in Zoom land that would like to speak on an item not on tonight's agenda? I think we're clear. Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda is approval of minutes. I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 30th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion, additions, deletions. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now entertain a motion to approve the minutes from December 14th, 2022.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, additions, deletions. Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve the minutes from December 14th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Next item on the agenda, the most important item on the agenda this evening.
Yes.
Under proclamations and recognitions, we're here tonight to recognize and to give a proclamation to the Franklin Panthers fourth grade football team. And I'd ask Councilor Cormier Ledger to, first of all, I'd ask the team to come forward.
Oh, look at the trophy.
Yeah,
Face
yeah.
that guy right there.
Face that guy right over there. Ted, why don't you go to the mic so people at home can hear you?
Where's your head coach? You guys excited? Yeah. Welcome to our town council meeting. This is a really big deal to be able to celebrate you guys and this huge win. Let you know how proud the town is, not of your accomplishments, for you and your coaches and your parents. And it was an honor for me to recommend this citation for you guys to the council, which was approved. And I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to give it to your coach, and then we're going to take a few pictures, okay? All right. So, proclamation honoring the 2022 fourth grade Franklin Panthers youth football team on winning the 2022 Eastern Massachusetts Super Bowl and Massachusetts State Championship. Whereas the fourth grade Franklin Panthers youth football team, led by head coach Steve Gatewood, ended its regular season undefeated with an 8-0 record, shutting out 6 teams, outscoring their opponents by 315 points, and entered the Eastern Mass playoffs as the #1 seed. And whereas the Panthers won the Eastern Mass Super Bowl on November 13th, 2022, against a pretty tough opponent, the highly competitive North Attleboro team, with a score of 12-6. And whereas the Panthers went on to compete for the state title against the previously undefeated Central Mass Super Bowl champs, the Worcester Cowboys, on November 19th, 2022, where led by their lockdown defense, the Panthers shut out the Cowboys with a score of 27-0 to win state championship. And whereas these 28 outstanding boys consistently demonstrated hard work, determination, teamwork, and discipline, which proved to be the key to their success all season long. And whereas in addition to winning the Eastern Mass Super Bowl and state championship, the fourth grade Panthers used their end-of-season banquet to collect toys for the Franklin Police Toy Drive. Now therefore be it known that the fourth grade Franklin Panthers youth football team is hereby commended by your town council of the town of Franklin and congratulated on winning the 2022 Eastern Massachusetts Super Bowl and state championship. And it's signed by my friend back there, Tom Mercer, our chair, and it's dated today, January 4th, 2022. Congratulations.
Okay, we'll take a short 2-minute recess.
So boys, can we get everybody to go right in front of that team?
It's kind of a miss for you.
Yeah, well, it's just an understanding. A couple things. I mean, that I agreed with.
Maybe
the
I just need to do
Italian
some
cheese.
experimenting.
Yeah, and I guess maybe it's not like the cookies or the cheeses that I eat. I could relate to the Italian cheese thing, and I could also relate to the soft cheese with vanilla wafers, because you could use the vanilla wafer as like a dipping, like to scoop the cheese.
I can see
So-
that.
So that works, right? Anytime you can dip a cookie into something, that
And I
works
think
for me.
that this one could work if you think cheese pair, because when you think of wafers and it's like, okay, what is the closest wine analog to a vanilla wafer? It's obviously an Oaky Chardonnay. An Oaky Chardonnay and soft cheeses like brie go really well together. So my only issue with these things, honestly, is the sugar. And it's different for sugary things and wine, that maybe that issue doesn't come across when it's sweet things like cookies and the cheese. So I would definitely give this one a try. And I might have some vanilla wafers in my cupboard, so maybe I should try vanilla wafers and some brie.
Yeah, we have to try a lot of these. There was another article. It was a Girl Scout cookie pairing that was by a cheese company. So I thought it was kind of slided towards their cheese, and I didn't really understand what
Sure.
they named certain cheeses. I think it was their own specialty cheeses, but they did say
Yeah.
Gouda with the lemon Girl Scout cookies that you mentioned earlier, lemon cookies, which I got to experiment with Gouda a little bit more, I think.
From their picture, the Gouda looks like a softer Gouda, not
Yeah.
like a really hard kind of Gouda. So
In that Havarti, is it Havarti cheese?
Havarti. Yep.
With shortbread cookies, Girl Scout cookies. So those were 2 Girl Scout cookie suggestions. And then the last article mentioned from Wine Enthusiasts talked about what wine cheese to pair with wine. So now just cheese, not cookies, but I like that this was talking about a different type of cheese that we probably never mentioned before, that cheeses that are flavored by wines. Have you seen these, Kim, or tried these? I think you mentioned earlier about some. Did you say some flavored cheeses?
Yeah, so there are actually a couple of cheeses out there. I know that there's one that is a harder goat cheese, and then there's another one that's it's an Italian cheese, but they're soaked in red wine. So they have this rind that is this really beautiful purple color, and the goat cheese one I believe is called the Drunken Goat, and that one is fairly widely available in a bunch of grocery stores. And it's a harder goat cheese, but you still get kind of that goat cheesy flavor to them. But yeah, this is a thing. There's I think a lot of variety with cheeses that have some combination of wine, either for their aging or as part of the process.
So these wine cheese products, they can be brined, dipped, marinated, soaked, or washed in some form or another.
Right. So a lot of the time it's on the outside of the cheese, but I think every once in a while there can be wine added into the cheese as well.
It seems like every time I've tried one of these, I was disappointed that I didn't get the flavor that was advertised, either port wine cheese or Cabernet cheese.
Yeah, I don't necessarily find that I taste a lot of wininess in these cheeses. It's more, especially on a wine cheese that you're not going to eat the rind of.
Right.
And so, a lot of these I probably can eat the rind, but I usually leave the purple rind on the side of my plate and don't eat it.
They mentioned the history of the wine cheese goes way back to World War I, where people used to put their wine in cheese barrels to hide, right? They put cheese in the wine barrels. Is that what it was? To hide the wine or something?
I think so.
So they coated it. So you'd open the barrel and you say, oh, it's cheese in here. There's no wine, but there's actually wine underneath it. So I thought that was a good little history point there.
Oh, I feel like I'm scrolling through the cheeses that they talk about, and there's this one called Purple Moon Cheddar. I feel like I've seen this one before.
Yeah, like a Cabernet. How would you, like these type of cheeses, would you go more when you're pairing with wine? Would you go with the texture or the flavor? So would you match a port wine cheese with port, or would you care more if it was soft cheese, hard cheese versus?
Yeah, I tend to do more of the textural pairings, but honestly, I feel like cheese can be very fungible. It's very forgiving with what you pair with it, as long as you pay attention to the weight. So I've even had some like really funky cheeses go equally well with a white and surprisingly with a red. So I think it's nice for variety to have different textures and different flavors. But then also, you can be creative with your wine pairings and do.
It was always tough too. That was good that they.
And Worcester, Julia.
Worcester was always tough. East Lynn was tough.
I remember that one.
East Lynn.
I'll reconvene the town council meeting of January 4th, 2023. Those are kind of the really good things that we get to do every once in a while. So it's great to have the young people come before us, and so we can recognize their achievements. Okay, moving on. There are no appointments, no hearings, no license transactions. We go right to presentations and discussions. And the first one is National Register Historic Districts in Franklin. This presentation was put together by Vicki Earls, Franklin Public Library. Jamie, I'll let you do the lead-in.
Sure. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you to council. So a couple quick notes. Unfortunately, Vicki is not able to attend tonight due to an illness. And, obviously we've had a couple of technological issues. We did come in yesterday as a team with Franklin TV, and we did, in fact, do a run-through. The presentation did work without any type of echoing effect, but it became evident to Franklin TV and others that the way that it was taped, and I'm not going to ask Vicki to do it again, but the way that it was taped was just done on a softer microphone at a lower volume. So when everybody was hearing the lower volume in the chamber, it is true, these two speakers in the front are actually designed not to be louder than the ones in the back. That's the way the room's designed. Unfortunately, she's unable to attend tonight, and Felicia's here. I just wanted to take a few minutes. We've put the link in the agenda. I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, have watched the 20-minute show. We're not going to be able to play it here in the way that it was designed, but Felicia's going to talk about some of the impact really quickly it's already had, because unbeknownst to us, by local standards, it's already kind of gone viral, and a lot of people and stakeholders in the community have been aware of it and have been calling the library about it and been meeting with the staff in Vicki's absence while she was ill last week. And oh, thanks, Kobe. Yeah, it does work.
Don't blame me.
It does work. It does work. The volume's really low. I just want to make a couple quick points. This was a council goal this year, and the reason why it was a council goal was because Vicki had unearthed some incredible information about Franklin's history. And one thing when I got here 8 years ago, and I think a lot of people in the community are unaware of this, is that there are 2 nationally registered historic districts in the town of Franklin, and they're labeled right up here on the slide. The Franklin Common Historic District is a nationally recognized historic district. In 2005, it was approved by the federal government. And the first one is the one I think most people are unaware of, the Dean Junior College Historic District. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do this presentation as well, or at least get the history out there with this incredible narration and video by Vicki, was to help educate everybody about really that there is a lot of incredibly rich history in the town, which we all know, but when you're on the National Register of Historic Places, that really puts it up to another level. And the districts are large. It encompasses a lot of buildings, a lot of homes on School Street and adjacent streets and the feeder streets, in addition to the Common. And I hope everybody gets a chance to take the 20 minutes to watch the video, because in the future, I know the Community Preservation Committee has talked in their master plan about trying to look at potential signage or landmarks, really showcasing the fact that we have this incredible downtown character and rich history that maybe a lot of people aren't familiar with. And when you really look at the center of town, I think we all know it, but if you really go around to the Concords and the Lexingtons and a lot of other communities, they have incredible plaques. They have incredible markers to designate that you're on the National Register of Historic Places, and the town of Franklin has none, literally. There are no real markers visibly on sidewalks or on buildings. One of the things we are going to do with the Red Brick Schoolhouse is, when that renovation is done, is look to make sure that it's marked on the National Register of Historic Places. And we'd like the support of, obviously, the community, the council, the finance committee, CPC, and others to really look at what we can possibly do to make sure people really know that our downtown streets and neighborhoods are really part of a much larger historical context, not just here or Massachusetts or New England, but really nationally, which is really cool. So that's my kind of quick, few minutes. Again, Vicki did an amazing job on this, and I think Felicia just had a couple of words, if you don't mind, Mr. Chair. Felicia had a couple words on behalf of the presentation as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you guys for this opportunity. Unfortunate that Vicki's not here to speak to the amazing work that she's done. Jamie summarized it so well. The goals were twofold: to give the information out to the community that we have these valuable assets, not only the assets, but that also we have these 2 historic districts, and also the second part of this was then to get a group together, if it's made of library, the Historical Commission, Dean College, to see how we can better promote and write grants to maintain some of these historic assets that we have for the future generation. But I have to add that Vic did such a phenomenal job, and as Jamie says, please, when you take time, listen to it, you agree with us that it's very informative, it's very inspirational, you will have a sense of pride. It not only links us to our past, but I've never seen such rich cultural heritage in one town. Every story we say about the town links to the other, and every story is compelling by its own right. So I think that this would definitely, if we can harness these assets, it would definitely bring people into town. It's environmentally too safe in that if the people who live in the homes know that they can have access to grants, it's not just about us. It's about the people who live in these magnificent, beautiful treasures, to know if we can help them with the information that they can obtain grants to maintain these treasures. It is also a good thing for the community. So please, take the time. We'll be glad to answer any question. I want to say, as usual, the community is already listening to it, and we're getting really good feedback, which is very good for all of the work that Vicky is put into this. You know, they love it. They say it's very well done. Some of them did not know that the historical districts existed, and some of them did, but are happy that we're finally getting the word out to the community. We live in a very beautiful community. The landscapes, the historical structures, and just everything about Franklin is golden because of our history. Thank you.
Thank you, Felicia. Any questions or comments from the council? Councilor Chandler.
Just a quick one, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to Vicky Earls, obviously. I'm sure everyone feels that way. What struck me of this whole thing basically was that in 1865, that Dean Academy building, that must have been just like wow back then, just incredible. And I've walked by it a million times, and I don't think I've really appreciated it till I started looking at it in the video. And I just hope people watch it, and that's one thing that just stuck out to me was that building. Because think about this downtown in 1865, there was nothing really. That was a big building, and it was pretty impressive. So that was it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through the chair. Thank you, Felicia, for being here, and for Vicky for putting this together. I do have a question about the local, the future considerations, or like this. It's almost like to preserve and protect and to limit what can be done in there. Are these things already being? Do we already have these restrictions in the district, or like how do we make sure that it's protected? I guess is my question. Maybe it's for Jamie, but or Felicia knows.
No, well, that's what we're hoping, that this is step 2, phase 2.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
To get a group together, and we know, the historical commission want to get all the stakeholders together and then move forward with all of those.
Okay, and then create this sort of listing
Absolutely.
of what who's protected. But
You all set?
yep.
Through the chair. So you have the National Register, which is basically, there may be tax benefits to individual property owners. There's a status involved, but there's no restrictions per se. Then Massachusetts has a general law for setting up individual historic districts, which are governed by a historic district commission, and then can be as restrictive as the community wants to make the bylaw.
Okay.
Generally, that involves, it's a process, and certainly involves lengthy soliciting from property owners and stakeholders. That's the kind of thing you see in places like Salem, Beacon Hill,
Nantucket, yeah.
those
Right,
kinds of
yeah.
places.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Felicia and Vicky. This is great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Sheridan?
Yeah, that was going to be my comment. I'd like to see the historical commission, district commission.
Any, Councilor Pellegrini?
Through the chair. Just because we're in a district does not mean that everything in that district is on the National Register, right?
Right.
Okay. As far as I knew, there were only two places. That was Dean College and the library that was listed on the National Register thing. Am I right or wrong?
No. The Dean Junior College Historical District, all of the homes that are listed under those districts, she did identify them. So everything is listed. The Franklin Common has over 80 homes listed under that district, but most of them are residential dwellings.
So Councilor Plager, if you look up at the screen, just as an example,
That's what I have here.
all of those properties are actually on the National Register.
They
You
are.
know? Yeah.
Yeah.
That is actually, ironically, that's
Yes.
how Vicky called me out at a meeting on the Red Brick Schoolhouse renovation, and I said the same thing you did, Councilor Pellegrini,
Yeah.
and she sent me a 5-page memo saying I was completely wrong. And I said, wow. And I went, hallelujah, and I said, hey, Vicky, maybe we could, and it was amazing. I was
Yes.
like blown away by the email, and I know she'll never write me that email again because then I asked her to do this, but I was truly like moved to think like everything in the boundaries of the district actually is on the National Register. So if you look at up this,
Yes.
there's some residential dwellings that I think all of you are familiar with, and some statues and some other properties and monuments. All of that is actually on the National Register. You are correct that you could designate a building or a park or a certain structure on the National Register, but those are just on the National Register of Historic Places. They're not a district. Like maybe,
They just happen to be in the district.
they just happen, right.
Yes.
When did we vote the districts?
So this district that we're talking about was created in 2005.
2005, okay. I remember having it said that it's great to be on the register. The only problem is, now you have to follow the state rules and regulations.
Exactly.
And you can't do anything to the buildings. Now, without saying fool, but I see a building up there that has done
That's not true.
renovations.
That's-
And,
You can,
okay, I guess.
With
I-
respect.
No, you're not being interrupted unless you'd like to be
Okay.
interrupted.
So then,
You can
we
finish your
know
thought.
that these places have to come before, who do they come before? The town, okay.
Mark.
Attorney Sorrell.
So the historic district, there's no restrictions per se. If you're individual, if you put your own house, for instance, on the register, then you're restricted for exterior work to complying with the rules of the Secretary of the Interior relating to historic structures. Then, as I alluded to a moment ago, there's a totally separate state process that allows you to set up a district of whatever size you want, and which is very restrictive insofar as you can't alter the outside appearance, and certainly the houses and all, there's a strong legal structure for preserving them, and that's a whole separate process, as I said. But that's a state statute versus this is a federal process.
Thank you. But what about the old museum down on Washington Street? Is that it's not in a district, but is it a historic, is it on the historic register?
It is not.
It is not. So that's why we're able to do what we're doing down there, although they're not going to be changing the outside of it.
Correct. The council made the choice, as all of you know, but for the folks at home, to put those preservation restrictions on the exterior, and that was our choice.
Okay. And we could do that without putting it on the register.
Exactly. Correct.
Okay. Was there any other buildings that we should be considering, maybe? I'm trying to think.
Generally, that's a lengthy process. I can't think of any, but I'm sure the Historical Commission might have some, some way in that. I know we gave them a list 5 years ago, of the oldest homes in town and some of those, and, they'd have to go through their own process to say, we'd like to preserve this house here. The caveat with that comes, there's usually money involved. And, obviously, if you're gonna ask a homeowner to preserve their house, to Patrick's question a moment ago of a historic district commission, that's where the tough stuff comes, because then the infamous stories are like Nantucket, where you have to go through a whole district committee to get your color of your shutters approved, right? Your door, your landscaping. I mean, those are very extreme examples, but that's a historic district in the downtown of Nantucket, and you can't do anything to the exterior of your property without a committee approving it. So Franklin does not have any of those yet. And if the Historical Commission deemed another building of historical significance, the town could certainly go through that process.
And that would be if they wanted it to be on the register.
Exactly, correct, yep.
Okay. Because I just want to make sure I'm saying it right. Those places are not on the register, they're in the district.
Correct.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor Sheridan?
But, correct me if I'm wrong, but being on the register really is a nice thing, but doesn't do much, right?
What?
Being on the register doesn't really,
Like I said, there may be tax advantages to individual property owners, but the flip side is, once you're on the National Register of Historic Places, you are then bound, if you do any work to the
Okay.
exterior of the house, to comply with the federal regulations.
And
Okay.
and also grants.
Grant.
Councilor
She's saying grant.
Councilor DeLorco?
oh, thank you. Thank you to you, Mr. Chair. I was curious, I remember back at the 225th anniversary, they were trying to get Union Street Cemetery, is that on the National Register?
No.
I remember that. I'm surprised. I thought it was.
Yes. No, she says.
I'm just adding these.
Directs them to other places, 300.
I was just surprised I didn't see it here. I thought it was on.
If it isn't.
Is this the one you're talking about, Bobby? For Union Street?
No, the cemetery, the Union Street Cemetery. I know, I forget her name, and she's since passed, but she was trying, and I thought she was pretty close to getting that on the National Register.
Directs them to the website to see. She just gave a few examples, but she.
Okay, I
also
was just
has-
kind of curious. I even thought there's a sign up there that said that.
I'm sure Vicky knows.
Yes, yes.
Oh, so what Felicia's saying is there's a list that's on the library website with every parcel.
Oh, okay, all right.
Here's like
Okay.
a sample of buildings and pictures.
Oh, okay, all right. I
It's
thought
on the
that was,
website, and it's a lot larger than people think.
right.
Yes.
So the cemetery is probably in that.
Oh,
I
okay.
would imagine, yeah.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor DeLorco. Councilor Jones?
Just a curious question, maybe point of clarification. So any house that is listed on the, on this preservation list, once the building is deemed historical, now is it uneligible for sale to be demolished and turned into another house? Is that, in other words, is it the preservation of the building as a whole owned, or is it just specific to the property owner? I'm confused as to, once the building is deemed historical, it's no longer eligible to change in
So
any way,
there's
shape?
multiple layers to that question. So first of all, again, put the federal over here, it's more
Yeah.
for appearances than anything else. The local level, you've got the state, if you had a historic district, and then, oh, by the way, we also already have on the books a historic demolition delay.
Right.
And that's based on the age of houses and then a determination by the Historic Commission whether or not they have value that involves an attempt to preserve them. It's not an absolute, but it's a tool in the box of preservation.
Right. Didn't that just occur with the recent approval by the Historical Commission for the building downtown? As a matter of fact, wasn't that a topic of discussion that came up, that you had to review it based on its age?
Which building are we talking about?
The building immediately across from the gas station that's being proposed to be.
Yeah.
It was supposedly like the
12 East Central or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the bylaw at least kicks in with the age of the building, and then that at least triggers a review and a determination whether there is any independent historic or architectural significance that would warrant a demolition delay. Ultimately, a property owner or a developer can wait you out. You can't absolutely preserve it, as opposed to the historic district, where you do have rights to preserve the exterior of homes. That's the strongest set of legal tools available.
Right, okay. Thank you for the explanation. Thank you, sir.
Any other questions or comments? Again, Felicia, thank you, and obviously a big thank you to Vicki Earls for putting this together. It's great. I've watched it. It's really, really interesting information, and I would just say to the entire community, take a few minutes, go onto the library website and listen to this. It's really a great presentation. So thank you, and thank you to Vicki. Okay, moving on. Next item on the agenda, Town Council 2-year goals update. Town Administrator.
All set, Mr. Chairman.
Let's try, though.
I'm gonna do them as fast as I can. I'm gonna do them in bulk. The list is here. Obviously, I'm sure there might be a few questions. But for the folks watching at home, you know, it looks like from what I can see, the vast majority, if not all, the financial goals have been achieved already. The Economic Development Committee is working through and has completed a handful of goals and has also created an outline for the rest of the year. And there's some updates on those projects. Most of the DPW goals are complete, or at least, you know, working in progress, or there's been some successes. At least each goal has been looked at, and we've worked on it and created some progress on each one. The facilities goals are also in progress. I think as we were just talking about history, the big one on here is the Red Brick Schoolhouse renovation. And then tonight we're considering some charges for the police station as well as the Davis Thayer School reuse. And then in general government, you know, a lot of those have seen a lot of progress on public way acceptances, certainly some green community presentation, and a few others that still need a little bit of help. There's a couple of projects on here, including the demolition delay bylaw review, as well as the Spring Street decommission. Those are very, very complicated items, and sometimes on the case of the Spring Street, the solar farm is not 100% done yet, and so we can't really move forward on that until that's complete. The demolition delay bylaw, we have to engage the Historical Commission on that, so that's certainly something to do. And then on presentations and discussions, I added on here the ones that were complete. We just finished one thanks to Vicki. And then there's a few more that we have scheduled. I've talked to the various entities that are associated with those in terms of the Charles River Pollution Control District, because I know everybody cannot wait to hear about sewer, but it is really important to every resident. And also the Metacomet Public Health Alliance, we've got those scheduled later on in February, and then the Pollution Control District later in the summer. And most of the rest of the goals have been complete. So, you know, all in all, Mr. Chairman, I think between the council's support, the staff in our office, in the school district, and ARPA.
Yeah. Can't forget them.
Yeah. Pretty good. I think we're all in really good shape. You know, if anybody has any questions on where things stand, happy to answer. If there's any priorities that need to move around, happy to have the council talk about them tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jamie, I was just thinking like we need to add a few more things on here because we got everything done already. And one of the things I wanted to, when I was, I'm just joking. One of the things I wanted to let everybody know that, you know, I work with people from in municipal official standings across the state, and it is amazing how much we actually get done here compared to other communities in the state. And I just want to make sure people understand that we have a great team, and we're really lucky to have them. I was wondering about the if we could add a presentation or some kind of information from Mike D'Angelo about the food recycling program that was in the news. I know that he just started it. It's just in one of the schools or two schools, and he wants to move it through other schools, but I think that would be really interesting to talk about. And I'm really excited about Kendall Circle getting refinished, resurfaced, because it's a mess up there. But I mean, I think you're doing a great job, and I think we've got a lot of stuff done, so it's really good. And I'm excited about, the open space master plan. So that's like the next thing, right? But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Frangillo?
Sure, yeah. This is great. I'll echo the praise, and it's good to see them all together. There's a lot I'm excited about, so I told myself I'd just elevate one, and that was going to be the net zero plan. You happen to be getting, it's okay to roll your eyes, I am taking a course on climate change and regional planning, and I just wrote a 26-page paper analyzing Natick's net zero plan, which is a community of similar size to ours, and they did a very impressive job. And that was through working with MAPC, and it was through EEA technical assistance grants. So I think that is feasible, and that there are people out there who want to help, and examples of it already being done at similar sized communities with similar considerations as to what would, reach, what steps would need to be taken. So I think that can be done. It's not as intimidating as it might look. And when you go to the high school, it's the number one issue that students are interested in.
I was just going to say, we debate, I agree with Kobe for the most extent. The thing I would say is Marco retired. Mike's a team of one right now. I will say that we're in the process of posting for both deputies, both for the Deputy Director of Engineering as well as the Deputy Director of Maintenance and Trades to manage all the contractors. Our hope, and certainly I know talking to the superintendent who will be a part of those interviews because the schools are a big part of it, I think we all believe and hope that we can find a candidate for the Deputy Director of Engineering that has either a deep background, some level of interest, whatever it might be. It's a tough job market right now to find somebody that is perfect, but I think from an energy manager perspective, I think that's going to be a big feature of that Deputy Director of Engineering piece. I'm not going to go, I don't know if I can get to net zero or what, but I think that person will at least be able to put in the time and effort to put in that planning exercise that Natick did, and I know some other towns have done. And so when that person gets on and gets acclimated, I think that's going to be a big feature of their job for sure. So we hope that position will be able to move that ball down the field a little bit more and find out if it's grant money or technical assistance or whether we have to fund something. I'm sure it wasn't free for Natick. I'm sure somebody had to do some work to put it all together and figure that out. And I think as we've talked about before, and I'd be curious to see your white paper, I would put our town up against them on town facilities any day of the week. I think where the big challenge for Franklin's going to be is really cars. And that is clearly going to be the piece, and that's a private decision. And I think that what Natick has done, I haven't read it, by the way, so I'd be really interested to see it, but how are they incentivizing, how are they getting their citizens into either electric vehicles or no vehicles? I think, am I on the right track? Is that a big part of the net zero plan?
Yeah, the energy efficiency, we're ahead of them on transportation. There are just decisions that we could be making.
Right.
That's most of it, yeah.
Super.
You all set?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, congratulations, Jamie, and all the department heads and volunteer committees for all the hard work in making this impressive list come together. To echo the comments that have already been said, it's just pretty impressive. I recognize that it's a huge amount of work. I'm wondering if this 4-page document, Jamie, could this be just taken out of the minutes and created as a PDF so that as counselors we can share it with constituents if asked?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll send that.
That would
already
be
is.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Well, I'll send it around to everybody tomorrow.
It's a separate PDF
Right.
anyway.
Yeah,
so,
just a separate piece would be great.
Sure.
That, we could have. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to Jamie. First, you guys, all these goals, we've been pecking away at all of them. They look great. Most of them are done. The only thing I think people might have some interest in, it's actually part of the EDC, the branding and marketing, where we're at with that. It looked like you were gonna get a
money.
We got money.
$50,000 grant, yeah.
We don't have it yet.
Yeah, no, it's not quite here
So,
yet. It's coming.
I gave Rep Roy, I think, credit in here somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it,
Yeah, you
scramble
did.
for it. I was in the final economic development bill, I believe. Unfortunately, the state decided to create yet another portal that our staff have to fill out. And just so everybody knows, in my 1 second of snarkiness, I just think the state knows we're at 355 East Central Street. I don't know how many more times I have to enter this data in. So maybe someday Representative Roy can get one portal for every state agency up there, but we're in like 50 portals. And of course, the governor on the way out the door had to ask us to go into another portal. I feel like I'm on a portal to the moon with all these portals, but we did apply for the money, and we did get a message back from Economic Development Agency that it is going to take them a while to go through all of those appropriations to get out to the communities. I just want everybody to know, the minute we got the email, we filled out the forms, we sent in the application, I got a reply right away. And then the marketing piece, and then beyond that, once we get the money, we have to hire a third party to work with Lily and some other staff to work on that. The $50,000 probably won't be enough, but make no mistake, a branding process like that is a very, very time-intensive piece with a lot of different opinions, and that's something that we need to make sure there's a lot of community engagement on. But thanks to Rep Roy and his staff and everybody for at least getting us from what they told us.
Great, thanks for the
Yeah.
update, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Jones?
Just a
Yeah.
couple quick things. One is, the COVID pandemic, it's right down as status complete. There's been at the school kind of an uptick in COVID cases, and even some local businesses in Boston are already starting to put on new masks and restricting access to certain places. Is this, in my opinion, should really be ongoing. Is the town not doing any kind of level of, I guess, overwatch in regards to the status of COVID through our facilities and our buildings?
Through you, Mr. Chair, so I put that on as complete, more as a psychological end to this. I think we all, in some ways, we all need to some degree, move on. But that being said, the Metacomet Public Health District, who'll be in here hopefully February, they're going to be at the Finance Committee in February, and I think at the last meeting of the council in February or early March, I can't remember. Kathy Liberty, we have the epidemiologist and we have the public health nurse, both down at the senior center in that office to do multiple things, but one of the things they do is COVID reports to us on a bi-weekly basis. And so we are certainly keeping track of it. There's no question about that. We have not come, from what I've seen, any data. The schools may be a different situation. I can't speak for them. That's a school committee decision and a superintendent decision. But in terms of the rest of the community, there's certainly no guidance from the Department of Public Health or from our epidemiologist or nurse or Board of Health suggesting any additional requirements or policies or mandates of any sort. I think the numbers are ticking up, but I think if you still look at them, they are a fraction of what was, a couple years ago. So I haven't had any recommendations come through them, so I can't speak for the schools.
All right, just one more thing, Mr. Chairman. Discussion, just to add, like Councilor Hamlin mentioned, one more point of discussion, if we could, towards the bottom of it, if possible. I noticed you put on discussion about the use of Maple Hill property. Would 2023 be too premature to talk about the potential uses for Schmidt's Farm?
Through Mr. Chair, I think both of those are going to come before you with the open space recreation plan. Excuse me, and so I think the Conservation Commission started that a couple months ago, and they're doing a huge public outreach campaign. And they're scheduled to come in. I think Councilor Sheridan also asked for the Conservation Commission to come in, so I scheduled that, I think, late April. So they should be coming in to talk about all those issues in late April.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All set?
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? I just have two quick ones. Again, the branding and marketing analysis, I think that's something that, I know we're waiting on on those dollars, but I hope we're putting ourselves in a position to move immediately upon receipt of those, to get the process started. And is there anything that we can already be doing that isn't costly?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I think the EDC has to kind of somehow line up to start those discussions.
Yeah.
This is an EDC item, so at some point, I think the EDC is going to have to tackle that. You know, obviously, as we all know, we're talking about the zoning.
And I know their list is long.
I know the list.
We love
But maybe we can, you know, adjust a couple of things when that does come to,
Sure.
when those dollars do become available. The other piece is the decommission process on Spring Street. What's holding that?
So at the top of Spring Street, we're getting a parking lot out of the solar farm. And so once that all gets done, you know, we can start talking to the Commonwealth. I mean, ultimately, the public way goes to the state forest.
Right.
So between Mark, the DPW, town attorney, just so everybody home knows, and the DPW, we have to sit down with the Department of Conservation and Recreation and start to talk to them about how you go about decommissioning a road. It's not a road, as you know.
Yeah.
It's barely a path. Just pure rocks is probably what it is. It's a laborious process. It's not going to be easy, but we got to work with the state on that. So that, of course, slows everything down. But we have to wait first until the entire solar farm is done. The parking lot is turned over to the town, because that parking lot is intended to be the premier kiosk and entranceway. What we're trying to do is take away the road so that that parking lot becomes the entranceway into the state forest, so more people can enjoy Spring Street not as a road, but as an actual path. And we need investments from the state to clean up that road into a path. So it just takes a lot of coordination from a lot of people who have no time to do it. That's really what's holding it up.
Understood.
Yep.
I can tell you in 1964, I drove that in a car.
And you got to the other side?
From Spring Street, and it comes out across the street from Gerlich Farms'
Right.
front door.
Yeah.
And we got through and the car was done.
But it was fun.
Yeah, but it was fun.
And it was a great
And we
memory.
got to say that we did it. Councilor Pellegrini?
I just wanted to make mention that Spring Street is an accepted street in the town of Franklin.
Yep,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah.
For a long time, people didn't think that, but when
It
we
is.
looked it up one time, it certainly was.
And through you, Mr. Chair, that also will come off our Chapter 90
Right.
piece. So there's some pluses and minuses that we have to work out with the state and work out a deal somehow so that doesn't, you know, the good effort we're doing doesn't penalize us in a way.
Exactly.
I see.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, moving on. Legislation for action. Bylaw Amendment 22-888, Chapter 170, Vehicles and Traffic, Section 170-22, Subsection A, Location of Stop Signs, second reading. Clerk will read the bylaw amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is bylaw amendment 22-888, Chapter 170 Vehicles and Traffic. A bylaw to amend the code of the town of Franklin in Chapter 170 Vehicles and Traffic, Article 6, Traffic Regulations in Sections 170-22, Subsection A. Be it enacted by the Franklin Town Council of Chapter 170 of the Code of the Town of Franklin, Franklin Vehicles and Traffic, Article 6, Traffic Regulations, is hereby amended and/or deleted by adding the following text in appropriate alphabetical order at subsection 170-22, subsection A. Subsection 170-22, location of stop signs. The erection and maintenance of official stop signs are authorized by the town council as follows. Stop sign by Brandywine Road, direction travels eastbound at the intersection of Populatic Street, Charles Drive, eastbound Brandywine Road, and Union Meadows Lane, eastbound Upper Union Street. This bylaw amendment shall become effective in accordance with the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move bylaw amendment 22-888.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, through the council, this is just the second final reading of the bylaw that was approved in December.
Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve bylaw amendment 22-888. A majority roll call votes required. Clerk will call the roll.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Hamblin?
Yes.
Pellegri?
Yes.
DeLorco?
Yes.
Cormier Ledger? Sorry, I didn't have
Yes.
my sheet ready. Chandler?
Yes.
Sorry. Yep, Sheridan?
Yes.
And unanimous. Frangillo, myself, yes.
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
My apologies for that delay.
Motion carries. Resolution 23-01, authorization for intermunicipal agreement with Tri-County Regional Vocational Technical High School for Franklin to provide it with a school resource officer. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 2301, authorization of intermunicipal agreement with Tri-County Regional Vocational Technical High School for Franklin to provide it with a social resource officer. Whereas Tri-County Regional Vocational Technical High School is in need of a police officer to perform the services of school resource officer, and whereas the town of Franklin, the town currently employs police officer who performs these services as school resource officer for town, and the town is willing to make said person available to the school to perform said services for school in consideration of school's payment of compensation to town, and whereas the proposed arrangement will be to the subject of written intermunicipal agreements between the town and the school, a draft copy of which is attached hereto as Exhibit 1, would benefit both governmental entities. And whereas the intermunicipal agreement is governed by the provisions of General Law, Chapter 40, Section 4A, which requires that each governmental entity authorize this agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Franklin hereby authorizes the Town Administrator pursuant to General Law, Chapter 40, Section 4A, to negotiate and execute an intermunicipal agreement with Tri-County Vocational Technical High School in substantially the form attached hereto as Exhibit 1, which with agreement will provide the town to provide Franklin Police Officer to school, provide services as a school resource officer, and for town to receive compensation therefore, provided that the said agreement may contain such other terms and conditions as the town administrator determines to be in the town's best interest. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move Resolution 23-01.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the council, this is just reauthorizing a 3-year agreement between the town and Tri-County to provide them with a student resource officer like we have at the high school. I think the program has worked out great between both Franklin and for Tri-County. And so that's it. Thank you.
Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the town administrator. So this is a shared resource officer. They provide services to Franklin High School and the Tri-County, is that correct?
That's correct.
And how much time is split between each?
50-50.
And I guess this is to the chief, we're finding that the time allotment is suitable and that the needs of both schools are being met?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we've had it for 3 years. Before this, we did not have a school resource officer dedicated specifically to even Franklin High. Tri-County was looking for one. We just couldn't do it. I could not take another officer and put them in there. They agreed to a deal that we were able to come up with an intermunicipal agreement for 50% they would pay and the town was willing, and that's how I was able to hire another officer to be able to just split their time between Franklin High and Tri-County. That's all they do. He might be, it's morning, afternoon, and then Sundays he might do a full day, Monday at one school, Tuesdays at the other. But Officer Paul Garino, that's all he does is the high school in Tri-County. It's worked out very, very well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. For the taxpayers listening, that's a good deal that we're getting $50,000. Nice job with that negotiation.
Yeah,
It's
thank
a
you.
definitely good deal for the taxpayers to get that money back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Any, Councilor DeLorco?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chairman. It's not only it's a good deal for us, but it's good for the kids to see a police officer like Paul Garino, who's excellent with kids and everything, and makes them more comfortable, and that makes the chief's job a lot easier.
I'll say Councilor Delaco. Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also agree, this is an absolutely brilliant deal. Paul has really been phenomenal with the kids at Tri-County. I saw him in action, working with many of them. He's a very patient individual, and I give him kudos, and your whole department kudos for putting this together and allowing it to happen. It services both high schools really, really well.
It does, and it doesn't hurt that Paul had a construction business at one time as well,
Yeah.
so he fits right in
Yeah.
with some of the different things going
You
on
like
in
to
Tri-County.
dress
No, good.
Exactly.
Gonna teach a class.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Any other councilors? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-01. A majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 23-02, ratification of the memorandum of agreement between the Franklin Police Association employees and the town of Franklin. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 23-02, ratification of the Franklin Police Association contract. Be it resolved by the town of Franklin, acting by and through the town council, hereby ratifies the provisions of the attached Franklin Police Association collective bargaining agreement, which have been ratified by the Franklin Police Association employees. The provisions of the agreements shall be in effect from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th of 2025. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 23-02.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the council, this would be the final vote and ratification of the collective bargaining agreement with the patrol from July 1st of 2022 through June 30th of 2025, as we outlined in executive session in December.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-02. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 23-03, ratification of the memorandum of agreement between the Franklin Police Sergeants Union employees and the town of Franklin. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 23-03, ratification of memorandum of agreement between the town of Franklin and the Franklin Police Sergeants. Be resolved by the town of Franklin, acting by and through the town council, hereby ratifies the provisions of memorandum of agreement between the town of Franklin and the Franklin Police Sergeants regarding changes to the detailed language in the collective bargaining agreement. This agreement has been ratified by the Franklin Police Sergeants Union. The provisions of the agreement shall be in effect from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2025, and shall become part of the existing collective bargaining agreement. And this resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 23-03.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the council. This also, same as I just mentioned a moment ago for patrol, this will ratify one provision change that is commensurate between the patrol and the sergeants that needed to be updated. I just want to know for everybody here and folks watching at home that our Sergeants Association did ratify their contract last July. So this is just a tweak, as we outlined in executive session in December, of one piece that needed to be updated based on the patrol negotiations. Thank you.
Further discussions from the council. Attorney Sorrell.
Yeah, just for the record, I'd just like to correct the start date on this. Is read, it's January 1, 2023.
That's actually accurate.
It is
The provision that they're ratifying starts on January 1st, 2023.
That's
right. Okay.
That's what it says.
No,
Yep.
I read July.
Did I?
Oh, it says July?
No, he read.
Oh, he read July. Oh,
Okay.
oh I'm sorry.
And the next one as well is January.
Right.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-03. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 23-04, ratification of the memorandum of agreement between the professional firefighters of Franklin and the town of Franklin. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 23-04, ratification of memorandum of agreement between the town of Franklin and the professional firefighters of Franklin. Be resolved by the town of Franklin, acting by and through its town council, hereby ratifies the provisions of memorandum of agreement between the town of Franklin and the professional firefighters of Franklin, the International Association of Firefighters, Local 2637, regarding changes to the promotional process. This agreement has been ratified by the union. The provisions of the agreement shall be in effect from January 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2025, and shall become part of the existing collective bargaining agreement. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 23-04.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the council, this again, I just want to note for the folks watching at home, the firefighters did ratify their full contract last summer. This was a contractual provision and a tweak that needs to be made to the promotional exam process, as we outlined in executive session last month. Thank you.
Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-04. Again, a majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 23-05, Police Station Building Committee Charge. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 23-05, Police Station Building Committee, whereas the Town Council would like to renovate and replace the existing station located at 911 Panther Way. Now therefore, the Franklin Town Council hereby establishes the Police Station Building Committee as follows. 1, the Town Council has determined to appoint no more than 11 members of the Police Station Building Committee, including the following representation and nomination selection criteria. A, 3 members of the Franklin Town Council. B, the Chief Police or their designee. C, the Town Administrator or his designee. D, Director of Public Facilities or their designee. E, Executive Director of the Metacom Emergency Communication Center or MEC. Regional Dispatch Center or their designee. Or F, 1 member of the Department of Staff who is male. G, 1 member of the Department of Staff who is female. And H, 2 members at large, with 1 member having background in engineering and 1 member having a background in construction management. The Town Administrator shall nominate all 11 members of the committee membership to be ratified by the Town Council. The Chair of the Town Council shall select the Chair, Vice Chair, and Clerk. Terms of the committee shall be through substantial completion of the project. And 3, duties of the committee are as follows. A, select a designer for the needs, analysis, and design. B, evaluate all potential expansion and renovation options for current and future needs of the Franklin Police Department. C, present the proposal to the Town Council for approval. And D, once approved, oversee the project until substantial completion. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 23-05.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, Jamie.
I'm going to take a breath, Mr. Chairman. We're here. So the folks at home know this has been a long time planning. I put in the packet the last 2 building committees the town approved that were non-schools for municipal buildings, which was the library and the senior center. And just for kind of comparison, just so folks who've never seen these before, it's been a while since we've had a building committee. At the wise policy of the council, a few years ago, you set aside $150,000 in a capital account for us to be able to hire at least the original designer. The bad news is, during the pandemic, the individual that we worked with for many years retired. Good for him, bad for us. But we all know Mr. D'Angelo has about as deep of a network of great people as possible. So I'm looking forward to get this started. I just also want to note that for a lot of the committees that are being considered tonight, scheduling is going to be exceptionally complicated. These things are going to take a while. Building projects like this can take years. I know, Mr. Chairman, you know, and many of you know, but I just want folks at home to know There's no Lego set out there where we can just resurrect it and put it up quick. It will take a very, very long time. And so this is great news, and I'm looking forward to getting this started, and happy to answer any questions that folks may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, just a quick clarifying question, just because it's going to come up a few times. Town council members, because this is going to last longer than the term, if they then no longer become a town councilor, do they retain their seat? Does someone else retain? Can they become a citizen? You know, is there a formal process, or we figure it out when we get there?
It's a little combo. Through you, Mr. Chairman. You know, feel free, Mr. Chairman, to leapfrog me on this. I know you've done just a few of these in the past. I've been lucky enough to do a couple my career, one school in the library. But if you look, Councilor Frangillo, at provision number 2, terms of the committee shall be through the substantial completion of the project. The word substantial completion of the project is actually pretty much a legal or regulatory term. Where you kind of hand over the project to the general contractor, and then they hand it back to us, and then there's a formal process in which the property and the building kind of are inspected and kind of off the books. So the point would be is that the committee that's appointed would be there throughout. And I think in the past, what I've seen professionally, you know, to defer to Mark and Tom, certainly is some people who are elected officials who get on any committee may decide they don't want to be on it anymore for whatever reasons, and you kind of naturally, it kind of naturally works itself out to some degree through the process. So some people stay on forever through it, and some people continue their volunteer service, and some people just decide that they've had enough and they pass it over to a new elected official. It doesn't, I just want to make sure the public's clear, it doesn't have to be that way, but that's traditionally, I think, the way it's worked in the past. But I defer to Mark and Tom, too, for any feedback on that.
Well, that makes sense to me. Thank you.
Okay.
Good
Thank you.
question. Good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-05. Again, a majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 23-06, Subcommittee for Arts and Culture Initiatives. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 23-06, establishment by the Town Council of Subcommittee for Arts and Cultural Initiatives. Pursuant to paragraph 25 of the Procedures Manual of the Franklin Town Council, the Town Council hereby establishes the following subcommittee to consist of 3 Town Council members for the current council term or until earlier dissolved. 1, Subcommittee for Arts and Cultural Initiatives. This resolution shall become effective upon the passage, and the subcommittee shall expire on July 1st, 2023.
Move resolution 23-06.
Second.
Motion and second discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this is just a simple subcommittee. I think the objective would be to have a few meetings over the next several months. I do want to make sure everybody's aware here and at home, the Master Plan Committee, which I think is the next one up, or a couple down the list, will have a pretty comprehensive subcommittee process, and that is really a key feature, that the subcommittee that gets started later this year has a very large list of stakeholders that can get together and present a 10-plus year vision for arts and cultural development in the community. I think many of us, including some of you, actually all of you probably on the council, have heard from a lot of people that they feel like there's a need to have a bridge between now to that process, and I think this subcommittee fits that void. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. And again, I'm glad you explained it that way so that people understood that this group, the subcommittee we're putting together, is kind of a bridge to get us to that next point. And that's what the intent of it is for. I know we had a couple of questions prior to, once the agenda went out. So, any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-06, A majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 23-07, Master Plan Update Committee. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 23-07, Master Plan Update Committee, whereas the Town Council desires to update the 2013 Townwide Master Plan. Now therefore, the Franklin Town Council hereby establishes a Master Plan Update Committee as follows. Excuse me. 1, the Town Council has determined to appoint no more than 13 members of the Master Plan Committee, including the following representation and nomination selection criteria. A, 3 members of the Franklin Town Council. B, 2 members of the Franklin Planning Board. C, 1 member of the Zoning Board of Appeals. D, 1 member of the Franklin Conservation Commission. And E, 6 members at large. 2, the Town Administrator shall nominate all 13 members of the committee membership to be ratified by the Town Council. The Chair of the Town Council shall select the Chair, Vice Chair, and Clerk. Terms in committee shall be until the delivery of a final report to the Planning Board for their consideration. Duties of the committee are as follows. A, review the current master plan and existing planning documents, data, and achievements. B, identify the key issues facing the community in the next 10 years. C, assist the identification of existing conditions and conduct trends analysis. D, recommend goals and objectives related to Franklin's future. And E, develop a clear action plan for the town of Franklin. And F, make a final report to the planning board within 18 months from the date of ratification of the committee members. This resolution shall become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 23-07.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie.
Through Mr. Chairman, through you to council, pretty boilerplate local government stuff. Master plan, for those out there that don't know what it is, it's generally your overview community plan on a host of issues. The last one was done in 2013, so we're ready for an update. Again, at the wise policy decision of the council, the funding for the consultant to help the town staff with this over the next 12 to 18 months, this money has already been set aside, so there's no additional funding as of now that's needed. I just want to make one point to anybody out there who is interested in serving on this as a citizen. Do not put your name in the hat if you don't have a lot of time. It may seem like it's a simple thing, but this is an extraordinarily complicated and time-consuming process. It is not just a few meetings. It's homework in between, it's reading, it's falling asleep while you're reading, waking up. And so for anybody interested, there'll be a form going out in the next few weeks to see if there's interested citizens, but looking forward to getting the process started. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, thank you. Through you. So I think so much of this is fantastic. The only one that stood out to me is that the ZBA and Planning Board feels duplicative in topic. I think ZBA could certainly end up being the best candidate, but it feels unnecessary to mandate or that they be the next candidate. There are 3 people with planning expertise that were appointed, and there are many other planning board people. I would make a motion to amend it to schools. I think that schools are a member of the school committee. I think schools are an important part of, our vision and where we're going, especially as they're talking about redistricting. The impact of where we develop is very neatly intertwined with where we set up our schools and how they're thinking about redistricting. So that would be that. I would also accept a friendly amendment to, housing authority, seniors, agriculture. I think that there are a few other pieces that will likely come through the citizen pieces, but feels unnecessary to have both the ZBA and planning board. So anyway, a motion to amend the ZBA to a member of school committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie.
I would say, obviously, this is well within the purview of the council to comprise the committee however they see fit. For those that have been through a master planning process, traditionally, most of the stakeholders you just mentioned, Housing Authority, Municipal Housing Trust, school committee and others are actually invited or brought before the committee to hear their expertise on things. So the other thing I'd be cautious of is I think it's worth, postponing or at least talking about maybe getting an opinion from the school committee about whether any of their members want to serve or whether they have the time to serve. The last point I would make is the redistricting from the last update I saw from the superintendent at the finance committee meeting in December. The redistricting analysis is intended to be completed in April or May of this year. And so I think like the open space plan, the housing production plan, a variety of other elements, and the redistricting will all be components that the master plan committee, I am sure, will bake into the master plan. One of the things that people, I think, that haven't been through a master planning process should at least understand is the master planning committee is not the dictative element. They don't tell basically how to do things or what to do. They're really a board of directors. They're similar to the council in the fact that you're the facilitators of, and you give us the policy to implement, correct? The master plan committee is really the facilitator and invites in all the other community stakeholders. So the logic, at least with the 7 that are there from the various committees, 3, 4, yeah, the 7, is that those are the main permitting agencies for the town that deal with, a fairly good size of what a master plan is. It's not just housing, it's not just commercial, industrial, and development, it's also facilities. It is redistricting, it is unquestionably demographics that we'll be going through. I do think a lot of that will hopefully be compiled by then. But traditionally, those stakeholders are brought in. I will say, for reference, just so I'm clear, and so the folks at home know, if you go back and look at the master plan charge from 10 years ago, there is the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust was a member of the master plan. And the reason why that was because at the time, they actually had a lot of money. And they had a lot of discretion and a lot of say in terms of where affordable housing was going. 12 years later, or 10 years later, that's really changed quite a bit. And so they're not as, they just don't have as much role in that. But the Affordable Housing Trust and the Housing Authority will be invited in, I'm sure, at the right time. That's just my, professional comments. But again, the council is more than within its purview to restructure this committee with the composition of membership, however you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. Other questions or comments on the amendment? Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know the motion's already been seconded, but I want to add my support because I think optics are very important, and I think inclusion is important, and I think we would be criticized highly for not including our school committee somehow in this process. So I would just echo Councilor Frangillo's concern about at least one member from that body. I do agree with our administrator that maybe it needs to be tabled to see if they're willing to participate, so we're not forcing work on them. But I do think it's important.
Thank you. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for making the motion, Councilor Frangillo. But I don't think it's necessary that we bring the school committee into this. We're not being brought into all that stuff right now. So I just feel like they have plenty to do. They're redistricting right now. It's a lot of work. And I don't know, there is no optics. We don't need to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Pellegrini?
I tend to agree with Councilor Chandler. All of the committees in them will be invited before this committee. And rather than to have so many more people on a committee, it does get unruly sometimes. The more and more you add on, they will be part of it. They'll be part of the meetings, okay? And without putting that extra burden, as he said, where they're doing redistricting and all, so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Any other comments from councilors? Okay, the vote will come on the amendment to amend the original motion of one zoning board of appeals to reflect one school committee instead.
Could I have a comment? Are we still, can we
Sure.
still be in discussion?
Sure.
Yeah.
I was about to ask, but, because I didn't see any hands, but go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I will say, if certainly haven't consulted school committee if people feel uncomfortable with that. I would also feel comfortable with a to make the second one a ZBA member or other planning board member. It just feels strangely restrictive to have it be one of three. Last time it was 2 planning board members, and we didn't highlight, we happened to have a ZBA member appointed as a public land use committee member. But it just feels unnecessary to restrict it down to that. If we want multiple planners, then maybe have that be a planning or ZBA. If people feel like that, feel more comfortable with that, I'd be happy to accept it.
Friendly. Somebody want to offer a friendly amendment to Kobe's amendment to be either a zoning board of appeals or another planning board?
I'll second that.
I'm
Schools are out.
confused.
Schools are out.
That's fine, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm just confused.
If this friendly amendment, he's accepted it, so now the vote will come on the amendment to change the zoning board of appeals member to either a zoning board of
Okay.
appeals member or another planning board.
Okay, I get it now.
Okay? So that's the vote.
Sorry, can I just ask a clarification? So that, in essence, could mean 3 planning board members then?
That's correct.
Which I don't think is what Councilor Frangiola was suggesting, but maybe I'm wrong.
I think I'm okay with 3 planning heads being on it. I would also be okay with it being an at-large. It just feels like, we have a body of 9 planners. ZBA is a small body that gets tapped into a lot less, and they might very well be the most qualified candidate. It feels weirdly restrictive to place that on them, and I think it's why they didn't do it last time.
You want to speak to the amendment?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, really quickly. So then basically what has to happen is the ZBA and planning board would have to get together to decide who that
They would have to
person
appoint
was.
together.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think you either, you kind of have to define it. It's not as if you have to. The council could certainly approve it either or. I'm just letting you know that, and it may not be a laborious process for the ZBA or the planning board to decide. But if there's conflict,
I get what you're saying.
then all of a sudden we're stuck. And, that's why the clarity of it, I think, is important. Thank you.
Attorney Sorrell?
I would just add my perspective, what the zoning board member brings to the table. What the zoning board of appeals does, literally by their title, is evaluate the zoning and its application to particular activities, businesses, individuals, and determines whether it's working or not and grants relief as necessary. So they actually bring a practical, how is it working background to a committee such as this.
Okay, is it Councilor Pellegrini?
Just a question, how many members do we have on the planning board again?
7.
5.
5.
One alternate, 5 and one
Put
alternate.
down another planning board member. We can't do that because they're not gonna be able to discuss things at a meeting.
Well, it raises, there's a potential issue of
Yeah.
quorum.
Like, we can't do that at other meetings.
All right, it just stood out to me, if we're.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, could I ask a possible solution to since we're still in discussion?
Yeah, we're still in discussion.
Could we maybe change the language for item B to be 1 member of the planning board and 1 member of the zoning board of appeals, and then add school committee to C? Would that make everybody's concerns, because it doesn't
I
change the
don't think
total
that-
number, doesn't change the total number of people on the group. It still keeps us at 9. It just allows that item number 2 to be either or for planning board and zoning, and then it does bring in the school committee, which a few of us have voiced we would like to see.
Right, and there's a few that have voiced they do not want the
I
school.
don't want them either.
Yeah, I'd say either we make it at large or we just vote down the amendment. That's.
I was going to say really quickly that I don't want to put her on the spot, but I'm now going to do it. The chair of the school committee is there. I
She is on
don't
the
know if she's
call.
prepared or not prepared, probably not prepared to speak, but seeing how there's a school committee, call, I don't, just throwing it out there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Denise, are you Are you on if you
I-
are?
I'm here, yes.
Yeah, is that something that you think a school committee member would commit that amount of time to?
Through the chair, I do think that we could have a school committee member represented on the board if the council decides to vote that way, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
So, we now,
We have several.
I think we need some clarification
Yeah.
of what motion is on the floor.
and that's
think
what
it's
I was
full.
about to do. And I clarified it a minute ago. The motion that's on the floor is an amendment to name either a zoning board of appeals or planning board member in that position.
Right.
That's the motion that's on the floor. So I would ask for a vote on that amendment.
Can we just withdraw that?
The maker of the motion can withdraw.
Yeah. So who made the motion?
Yeah.
That wasn't your, that's not your.
Brian,
Right.
somebody offered the friendly amendment to,
Right. I offered a
Kobe.
different friendly amendment.
yeah.
I
So,
offered the first
Ted,
one.
if you withdraw the friendly amendment,
No,
Brian does.
it was Brian.
Brian seconded Kobe.
Was
it was right.
I don't want to.
You don't want to withdraw.
Because I don't want this,
I
I
don't
wanted
want
the way,
school
it-
committee. Yeah.
I mean, if they would like to take
Understood.
me on the redistricting committee, I will accept them.
Good job.
Well, you're gonna work your way.
I'm going to we're going to work our way back to the original motion here. So,
So we can't,
if the feeling right now is that a zoning board of appeals and/or a planning board member, what I'm going to do is ask for a vote on that,
Right now.
right now.
yes.
So, all those in favor of that position being a member of the zoning board of appeals or another planning board member, signify by saying aye.
I think you have to vote one or the other.
No, you can put either or.
In the vote, I mean?
Yep. Yep. Okay. All those opposed?
No.
Okay. So that motion is now, that amendment is now off the floor, and we are back to the original motion, which is a zoning board of appeals member.
Okay.
Oh, we're not
My
back to school.
friendly amendment.
Well, no, because the friendly amendment
Got it.
took away that
All right.
other, okay? So we are back to the original motion, which is two planning board members and a zoning board of appeals member.
Two zoning board, okay.
So,
We have to change this to 14.
no, we're still at 13. Just what you read on the paper is what we
Originally, it
have,
was presented.
just as it was presented. 13 members.
We add another member.
We're not adding another member. They were replacing the zoning board of appeals member.
Okay, so we're going 3, 2, 1, 1, and 6.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yeah,
okay.
okay? Okay. Any further discussion? Councilor Cormier.
Mr. Chairman, I just go back to my other comment. Did my friendly amendment get wiped out?
Yes.
So if I wanted to bring that back, I'd bring it back now?
No.
The vote on the friendly amendment of zoning board or planning board failed.
Right.
So you can't bring that back.
I wasn't going to bring that back. That's
Okay.
not what I suggested.
Okay?
I had suggested amending number B and letter B and letter C.
Okay, and make the motion.
Okay, with the motion being to change the language for letter B to one member of planning board, one member of zoning board of appeals, and letter C, member of the school committee.
Is there a second? Seeing none, that amendment fails.
Okay.
So we are back to the original motion, which is two planning board, one member zoning board of appeals. Seeing no further discussion,
I'll make a motion to amend to have that be a 7th member at large, and we remove and just allow him to choose from wider pool.
okay?
There's
there-
so many other interests that
I
seem-
understand, I understand. You made a motion. Is there a second for that motion? Seeing none, we are back to the original motion, which is 2 planning board, 1 zoning board of appeals.
And everything else is.
Everything else is the same. So it's exactly how it's presented in our packets. A majority vote's required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, next item, Resolution 23-08, Davis Thayer Building Reuse Advisory Committee charge. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 23-08, Davis Thayer Building Reuse Advisory Committee. Whereas the Town Council desires to establish a Davis Thayer Building Reuse Advisory Committee to evaluate potential strategies and future uses for the building and parcel of land the building is located on. Now therefore, the Franklin Town Council hereby establishes the Davis Thayer Building Reuse Advisory Committee as follows. The Town Council is determined to appoint no more than 9 members of the Davis Thayer Building Reuse Advisory Committee, including the following representation and nomination selection criteria. A, 3 members of the Franklin Town Council, B, 1 member of Franklin Planning Board, and C, 5 members at large. Town Administrator shall nominate all 9 members of the committee membership to be ratified by the Town Council, and the Chair of the Town Council shall elect a Chair, Vice Chair, and Clerk. The terms of the committee shall end on December 31st, 2023. Duties of the committee are as follows. A, conduct an assessment of current conditions and possible uses. B, conduct a market appraisal of the property. C, engage community stakeholders and citizens' input through a public listening series. And D, evaluate potential future uses and make a final report to the Town Council by December 23rd, 2023. This resolution should become effective according to the visions of the Town of Franklin Whole New Charter.
Move Resolution 23-08.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, through you to the council, again, just like the other committee charges, just lays this all out. For the folks at home that I know are very interested in this, really quickly, check out the memo that we did. Again, we've already been able to put some funding aside to be able to do the analysis. And as folks saw at the last meeting, there's still a lot of work to be done inside. There will be a capital request put forth to the capital subcommittee next week in the finance committee to look at a market appraisal, as well as to hire a moving company to move out some of the stuff that's in Davis Thayer, or at least organize it in a better fashion. So I think the rest of it's probably pretty self-explanatory, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the council? Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is just a point of clarification. They may very well be called Castle Booze and Associates, but I think they're probably Castle Brothers?
Castle Booze. It's
No,
actually
it's Castle Booze.
So that is the second name.
B-O-O-S is the last name. Yeah.
I apologize.
That's okay.
I'm glad that's not a typo.
I can only imagine what.
I've worked with those architects.
God bless you.
Any other Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the Davis Thayer Building, obviously myself, having had all 5 of my children go to the Davis Thayer, really holds a lot of heart. Many people, I know yourself, and Pellegrini, and a few other people in the town have a real vested interest in how this building ends up being used in the future. I will state that being kind of a utilitarian myself, it would be nice to see the building put to use, but I do also realize its age. And I do hope that ultimately whatever choice we come to is within the best financial choices that we can make on behalf of the town of Franklin. I do know that just having established a cultural committee, that in my opinion, that would also be one of the good uses that building could potentially be used for, but there are obviously multiple other types of uses that this type of committee would ultimately decide. I definitely look forward to see where the direction of that building goes, and I will be watching this one closely.
Thank you, Councilor Jones. Councilor Pellegrini.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wondering, we have the ZBA. Do we want to put a member of the ZBA on here for uses in that of the building?
I don't see any, I don't think the ZBA will have any role.
You don't think so? We have them in others here, so.
In the master plan, we have them,
Yeah,
yeah.
but okay, I
Yeah.
just thought perhaps it would have been a good one to add to it, but, okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Any other councilors? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-08. Again, a majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Whew, this is a tough one. Resolution 23-09, Town Administrator Evaluation Subcommittee. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Resolution 23-09, establishment by the Town Council Subcommittee for Town Administrators Evaluation pursuant to paragraph 25 of the Procedures Manual of Franklin Town Council. The Town Council hereby establishes the following subcommittee to consist of 3 Town Council members for the current council term or until earlier dissolved. 1, Subcommittee of Town Administrative Evaluation. This resolution shall become effective upon passage and shall dissolve January 31st, 2023.
Move resolution 23-09.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Jamie?
It's just a lot of unnecessary bureaucracy that, we need to cut the fat out of government. I don't know why we're setting up these committees. Ridiculous. We know the answers. No. It's a contract provision, as you know, Mr. Chairman, pretty straightforward.
Thank you. It is a contract obligation, so. Any other questions or comments from the council? Councilor Jones?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can certainly see why the town administrator needs evaluation.
He's
Thank you,
here.
Councilor Jones. Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-09. A majority votes required. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 23-10, gift acceptance, Police Department, $5,050, Veterans Services Department, $2,600. Clerk will read the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very happy to read this resolution, 23-10, acceptance of gifts for the Police Department and the Veterans Services Department, whereas the Police Department and Veterans Service Department have received generous donations in the total amount of $7,650 to be used at the discretion of each department as follows. Donation summary, Police Department, $5,050. Gift account, $5,050. Donations to be applied towards the purchase of safety equipment and training to augment wellness programs, offices, and to support community-related programs. Veteran Services Department, $2,600. 1, Municipal Assistance Fund, $1,600. Donations to be used at the discretion of the Veteran Services Department through the Municipal Assistance Fund for support of local veterans and their families. 2, Gift Fund, $1,000. Donation to be used at the discretion of Veteran Services Department through the Veterans Gift Fund for support for local veterans and their families. The list of all donors is included in the January 4th, 2023 Town Council meeting agenda packet. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Council of the Town of Franklin, on behalf of the Police Department and the Veteran Service Department, gratefully accepts these generous donations to be used at the discretion of each department for the purposes noted above. This resolution should become effective according to the provisions of the Town of Franklin Home Rule Charter.
Move resolution 23-10.
Second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Jamie?
I just want to thank, in particular, Frank and Lorraine Kudelka for their incredibly generous donation of $5,000, as well as the Milford Disabled American Veterans and Tracy and Malcolm McLeod for each donating $1,000 to the Veterans Funds. We're a very lucky community. I mean, it just feels like we have to do those PEG votes for the cable company all the time, and we do these all the time, but I feel like these always make up for it because it's just incredible generosity all the time. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jamie. And obviously, our community is just so supportive of our town and our town departments. and we can't thank them enough for their continuing generosity. Any other questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, the vote will come on the motion to approve Resolution 23-10. Again, a majority votes required for the last time this evening. Next for the last time. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Town Administrators Report.
Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Subcommittee reports. I believe the only subcommittee that's met is EDC. Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, the EDC and the EDC Plus met tonight. The EDC is moving a lot line cleanup to the council. It is probably one of the last multi-parcel cleanups that will come before us. So we've got through this long list, which is great. And the EDC Plus met a little bit after that. And one of our discussions, we were trying to get through a bunch of really important things, and we decided that we didn't want to feel rushed, so we're going to try to plan a longer meeting, hopefully on the 25th of January. We haven't figured out the time yet, but we will definitely let everybody know so they can watch along and have fun with us.
Tune in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Anything, Gatra? Councilor Frangillo.
Yeah, so just, GATRA previously had 3 different operators across its area. They moved to one, and they just chose who that would be. They're called Nation Express. They had Nation Express purchased Kiesling, which had been operating one of the 3. So Nation Express is your next contractor across the entire GATRA.
That's great. Yeah, that's certainly a good thing. Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Okay, moving on. Future agenda items. Councilor Cormier-Ledger.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Chandler.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor Frangillo.
Nothing at this time.
Councilor Sheridan. He's always smiling. He's always smiling at me, so I skipped him.
He was shaking his head, too.
Councilor Hamblin.
Nothing at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Jones.
No, sir.
Councilor DeLuca.
No, sir.
Okay, councilor comments. Councilor Sheridan.
This is a Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you. Councilor Frangillo.
Happy New Year. Anyone wants to talk to me or yell at me or anything, I'm going to be seating myself at Intermission Cafe 8 to 10 next Monday. I'd love to hear from you and see you there.
Councilors invited?
Councilors are very much invited. Yeah.
Only 4.
Staff? Staff too?
Bye.
Thank you, Councilor Frangillo. Councilor Hamblin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say Happy New Year to everyone. And also let people know that on January 14th, that will be the next indoor farmers market at Fairmont Farm from 10 to 2.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Hamblin. Councilor Pellegrini.
He's jumping all around. All right. I wondered if perhaps we could have the archivist from the museum come in to be introduced.
Sure.
That would be a good idea, huh? Because I haven't even met her yet myself. I've gone up there a few times and she hasn't been there. So
Yeah.
this would be nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
She's probably hiding.
Her friend Bobby DeLuca.
She hits me every night, so don't worry.
Marketing person. Could we have her come in so we can see what she's been doing?
Sure.
Lily.
All right, that would be good. And wondering if you're looking into you would appoint a library, Friends of the Library. You know, if we can get a group together, remember they've all ended. And we certainly don't want that group, the Friends, to die completely. So if we can get new people in there, because they've collected so much money for the library, we need a new group.
You mean the Franklin Library Association?
Yes. No, Isn't it the Friends of the Library?
Well, there's two. I didn't know if I don't think the Friends disbanded, but I just want to be
All
clear,
right,
that's
what
not
one has dissolved?
FLA.
FLA, Franklin Library
They're
Association.
nonprofits.
Not the Friends.
Yeah.
We have nothing, the citizens go off and do that on their own. We
So
don't do
can't
anything.
encourage in any way for that group to get reestablished?
I'll
I
just,
hate losing all that money for the library.
well, they gave it all to us.
No, I know
Oh,
that,
okay.
but I mean, I'd like to see a continuation now, of some new people.
I think we have, I don't think that the town government should be sponsoring
Well, maybe we should check with
nonprofits.
Felicia and see how she'd like to handle it then.
Sure.
Okay, that might be
Yeah.
good. And I know that we're going to be bringing forward the oldest resident in Franklin, which is a wonderful thing to do, and I know who it is, but we're not going to announce it, I guess, yet. But we will see. Do you have any idea when that's coming?
I was just told by the town clerk the other day that there was a new oldest resident. I hadn't talked to her about, she didn't bring up, we didn't have a discussion about when they were coming to a council meeting.
I'm not sure this person is going to be able to come to the council meeting, but
Sure.
we'll certainly read the proclamation in that here. That's
Sure.
what we always did.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll get that from Nancy. I'm sure she has all the
And
details.
what else did I want to say? No, I think that's about it. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Pellegrini. Councilor Chandler.
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Happy New Year. As you saw tonight, this is a good group. We can disagree and and then work it out right away. It's a good group. Very happy. I'd like to thank the school committee too for listening to some of our stuff. And and tonight, when those kids came in, I gotta tell everyone, you gotta be so happy when you're with your young kids and go through all these sports and everything. I mean, just all this stuff, you just gotta cherish it. Is that the word I'm looking for? I mean, the parents were so happy and the kids. It really made my whole night, it really did. So, that's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Chandler. Councilor Cormier Ledger.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Certainly want to echo Councilor Chandler's comments that it was great to have the kids and parents here. So thank you to everyone that made the proclamation possible. I know it meant a lot to not just that team, but to the parents and to the league, because they really do put a lot into the program. One of the things I wanted to comment on during council hours at the senior center, after we had our meeting and then we had council hours in December, so we haven't got a chance to talk about it. The senior center staff brought to our attention that there's really four individuals in one family currently seeking services from the senior center that are homeless. And I just want to say huge kudos to the senior center staff, to Rep. Roy's staff, to Senator Roush's staff, to the health department, to everybody that is pitching in to help with showers, with clothing, with food, with housing alternatives. Even though none have presented themselves, they are trying. But it was very humbling to hear that we have residents in our town that are living in tents and that are sleeping in their cars, that I think we take for granted how much we have, and we need to just be cognizant that there are some in our community that are struggling. And I did want to thank all of the staff and volunteers that are coming to those people's aids, and I hope that we are able to find them some sort of better solution, because I don't think anybody should be facing the cold of this winter living in a tent or living in their car. So again, thank you to them and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Councilor Cormier Ledger. Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a happy new year to everybody. And looking forward to the challenges that 2023 has to offer.
Thank you. Councilor DeLorco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple things. I have to actually piggyback on Counselor Chandler and Counselor Comey-Ledger brought back a lot of memories as I, a longtime Pop Warner coach and two-time Super Bowl champ, that when these kids came in, I look at my kids now and how big they are and see them in, well, let's say bar rooms now, but
Restaurant, how about restaurant?
Restaurants, bar rooms, whatever. I saw those kids and how small they were. I was like, I just can't remember how small they were. I can't remember back then, but again, the parents, and you develop friendships for the rest of your life, as I have with Counselor Chandler. Again, with the homeless issue, we actually had one that passed away last week. That was homeless, and God rest Council Basante's. Myself and Council Basante went up there to try to give him some help a few years ago, and he just wouldn't take it. No matter what we did, we tried, and he was just perfectly happy doing what he did, and unfortunately, it wasn't healthy for him. So I commend the senior center and everything that they do, because they are great down there. Jamie, I got a phone call from people up on Pine Ridge, 101, 103. The road was done, and now I got a couple pictures they sent me. I'll send it to you. Sure. If you could send Mike up there to look at it, because I guess when it rains, they just don't know if it's finished or what the next project, are they gonna fix it, because dirt's running into their driveways, and it's, making big ridges and stuff like that. So if you give me some clarification on that for them, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
But outside of that,
if you have a couple of pictures, just text them, and
I'll text them to you,
that'd be
yeah.
great.
And, I appreciate that.
Oh,
And,
yeah, of course.
And everyone have a happy New Year.
Thank you, Councilor DeLarco. Just a couple of things before we adjourn. Obviously, having the kids come before us, I'd like to thank Councilor Comey-Ledger for arranging that so that the kids could come in and we could recognize them properly in front of the entire community watching. So thank you for that. And those are the fun things that we get to do. A lot of what we do isn't a lot of fun. It can be a lot of work. So when we have those opportunities, I really cherish them. And I thank the parents and the kids in the organization for giving us the opportunity to congratulate them for a job very well done. Tonight we made a start, what I think is a very good start to 2023 by the formulation of the committees that were voted to move forward this evening. The charges are good. We're off and running, and I look, we saw and talked about the council goals, the 2-year goals that we put into place last year. And after a year, looking at those goals and seeing what this council, along with our administration, along with our department heads, and every town employee has done to get us to this point. We're doing some great things here. We've got a lot of work to do going forward, and I think it's a great challenge for us as we go into 2023 to take them on. And I'm sure this council's ready and prepared to do that. Happy New Year to everyone. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Non-debatable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, one and all.